Hey folks, Eric from Another Voice with Jason and Eric, sponsored by Fowler's Pharmacy, Greenville's neighborhood pharmacy, 1908 Lawrence Road. You can hear us on Mondays 1 to 2 p.m. on Spin FM 103.3, or you can go to our website, canIGetAWordIn.com, find our podcast there as well as other things, or you can subscribe to our iTunes podcast channel at Another Voice with Jason and Eric on iTunes. This is the second installment of the 2012 election afterthoughts, entitled Fraud. Well, actually, no. We heard a lot before the election about all the fraud that was happening, that was going to happen, and it was coming from every side. It wasn't just one side, as is often the case. And we've heard a little bit since the election, although I actually am surprised that we've heard less than I expected. And let me begin with, as I've said before, I am a poll clerk. Every allegation of irregularity or fraud must be investigated. We must stop it. We must correct it. We must prevent it. So anything I'm saying now, understand that it comes from a place where stopping fraud, election fraud is vital to me. Greenville County has one of the better reputations across the country for good, clean elections. Doesn't mean we're perfect, but we have a good reputation, and I want to see that continue. Now, one thing that yesterday's election, especially my personal experience, as well as the other individuals that I spoke to, whether it be other clerks or personal friends who went and voted and things that happened, I think sometimes people yell fraud when what they should yell is, wait, something's not quite right. Now, something's not quite right doesn't equal fraud. Sometimes it's just human error. Now, that doesn't mean we say, okay, no big deal, don't worry about it. No, you fix it. You do something about it. Let me give you a couple examples. According to South Carolina law, today, current, you only had to show one form of ID when you came and voted. You could bring your voter registration card, you could bring your driver's license, or you could bring your South Carolina issue photo ID. And you only had to show one. Now, as I was working the polls, I saw a woman who got a little upset. And she said, why do I have to show two IDs? I also was watching what actually happened. So after I got done with what I was doing and she finished voting, or actually before she started to vote, I pulled her aside and I said, excuse me, ma'am, I understand there was an issue there about showing multiple IDs. Yes, I thought you only had to show one. I said, you're absolutely right. She presented us with the voter registration card, which is sufficient to vote, except she had never signed the voter registration card. And one of the key factors that we as poll managers must do is to check the signature on the piece of identification to the signature that someone's writing. So when they present us with an unsigned voter registration card, we have to look at another signature. We ask them to sign that, but we can't use that signature that they do right in front of us to verify the other one they're going to do right in front of us, because they could have found a card, stolen the card, made a card. So we had to have a second form of ID. So we weren't breaking the law. We weren't committing fraud. We weren't making it more difficult for a voter. We weren't trying to suppress a vote. In this case, there wasn't even a mistake. But the woman's perception, not looking at all the factors, she could have gone home if I hadn't stopped and spoke to her and said, oh, they made me show double ID. It was not. There wasn't even a mistake. Now, second, let's look at, we're humans. People make mistakes. Now, we want to try to stop them. There were examples where someone, when they were typing in on the computer which voter had voted, there was a junior and a senior. And when they typed in the voter who voted, they accidentally typed in junior under senior, or like that. And they didn't know about it. When the other person came in, they went to look them up, and it said they already voted. Now, our people, I made sure we double-checked, and we were able to fix that. But sometimes I heard another person who went and said they'd already voted. There could have been a mistake. It was a mistake at our poll, which we fixed. And I was able to talk to the clerk managers as they were doing it to make them even be more careful about what they were doing. But this could have gone to a person and say, hey, wouldn't let me vote. They were being, committing fraud. It wasn't fraud. And I could go down the list of examples, and I had them from other precincts as well as from our precinct, where people could think, oh, there's fraud. But it was a mistake. Now, we had a woman who was brand new on the computer, and she was going kind of slow because she wasn't familiar with computers and because she was trying to make sure she was doing it right. And a gentleman who voted got upset because it was going slow and because they looked at his signature to verify his ID. I'm an American. I'm a South Carolinian. I've got a photo ID. Why are they checking my signature? Again, no fraud. And he called the lady at the computer incompetent. She wasn't incompetent. She was learning how to do the system. And we worked with her so she could learn how to do it. Folks, all irregularities do not equal fraud. There is fraud. Don't misunderstand me. Fraud occurs all over the country in every election because there are humans who commit fraud. But before you scream and holler fraud, please take into consideration that human beings are involved and there might be a mistake. And give us the benefit of the doubt. And I've read things online, and I've heard people say incompetent and idiotic and lazy and no good for nothing poll workers. Folks, I'm sorry. In Greenville County, we have some of the most committed and dedicated workers in the country. Now, there are bad apples. There are people who make mistakes. But we're there to try to help you vote. We're there to try to do it right. So, always mention if something's irregular. As I said on the show before Election Day, if you go to vote and there's a problem, there's an irregularity, there's something you're not concerned about, call. There were numbers posted in the polling places, 2 or 3 places with numbers you could call. And call right away. Don't wait 2 days later to whine about it on Facebook when nothing can happen. So, that's my rant about voter fraud. Please understand, we're in this together. All right, folks, I know it's cold season's coming up, and you're going to have to get a prescription. And you can go anywhere to get your prescription filled. You're looking for someone that your insurance will take your insurance. You're looking for someone that's going to have the medication. And you can get it anywhere, the big box stores, mega stores. But what you won't get is the personalized attention that you could get from a neighborhood pharmacy. That's why you need to go to Fowler's Pharmacy, 1908 Lawrence Road, Greenville's neighborhood pharmacy, because they're not only going to be able to take your insurance, they're not only going to be able to give you the right medication, but they're going to give you that personal touch that only a neighborhood pharmacy can. I mean, they even deliver to some folks, to many folks. So when it's prescription time, when it's time to get that refilled, hop on over to Fowler's Pharmacy, 1908 Lawrence Road. All right, this has been segment 2. Get ready. We'll have segment 3 in our 2012 election afterthoughts coming soon. Have a great evening.